Good morning from awesome Mesa, Arizona. We are grateful that you could join us.
Good morning. How is everyone today? It's a cool and misty autumn morning here in Arizona, and I prepared for this special webinar for all to enjoy.
Today, we're going to talk about the assemblage point of life fulfillment. Life fulfillment is a beautiful motion that allows your dreams to syncopate and to stream into you and through you and around you and with others so that your dreams of life can unfold as you wish for them. Life unfolding is a major assemblage point at this point in time because of so many changes that are happening to the planetary dream streaming. We're moving away from Shatar dream stream and into another jurisdiction that is purely light motion of fields, known as Sasa. Sasa is a beautiful program, and it was brought to us by a Tao of another galaxy where her deep love, care, peace, and honor in unison do unfold. Is from the galaxy of Walehara. For those of you that are enjoying the Starseeds archives that Asarana has been bringing through. It's a beautiful creation of huge creative endeavors and people who care and sway together in love and music and sound too. Sound lets light motion which causes them to compose their music. And in this program, it fosters a jurisdiction of an assemblage point of life unfolding, which when you go into it within yourself and within what you believe to be true for where you're headed in your life, it will flower and foster a jurisdiction of dream with those that you are trying to cascade with. So the assemblage point of life unfolding is an outward streaming motion, meaning it motions out into the world with others, and it causes you to enliven yourself. It causes you to bless others. It causes you to enjoy the dance that you are causing or you are bringing towards yourself in some way that you would like to. Is a beautiful dream stream truly and sincerely. Life unfolding is not to be underestimated as something that you shouldn't go into. As a matter of fact, the way the dream stream is turning upon the planet, if you don't master this assemblage point, dreams can very much fall apart. It is why we're focusing a whole webinar on this topic. The dream stream of you and the dream stream of your job in particular need to align. Younger people are very good at this, especially those in their teens and 20s, because they came in with a template of knowledge of how to dream stream the SOSA. They knew it was going to be the program of the future, and they are our light wave children. and they're trying their best to help their parents understand. And so if you have teenagers or young people that you know, please be aware that their dream stream may be even better than you, and they'll teach you how to motion into this assemblage point more recurrently. Anytime you focus upon your dream for this week or this month about what you would like to cause or affect, what you would like to dream within yourself, that is a time to go into the dream stream of life unfolding. As you do so, you will see where your dreams align, and you see perhaps where they don't. Witnessing it may be an internal vision for those of you that are psychic, or it may just be a sense in your body that's kinesthetic, that the dreams aren't aligning for you the way that you would like them to, for what it is you're intending. In that case, you need to take the light in a motion of cascade and the motion of flow of what is called life stream, and flow it towards the dream or the people you're trying to engage in order to foster what it is you're attempting to foster. As you do so, it will wrap around them and swirl in and out of their existence. And then you draw that stream back into you and put it around you. Wrap it around them, wrap it around you, wrap it around them, and then suddenly it's all beautiful. Then they will be drawn to you to participate in your life circumstance. And that's how dream stream works in light wave motion in a place like Walihara. You see that light is always forming a figure 8 flower that's similar to a plumeria blossom around clusters of 6 or 8 people that have a care space together that they share their dreams with. Maybe they bead, trade, or trade some artisans' crafts, or something that they need for their garden, or something that they need for their housing, in order to be in a unison and have everything that they need in their life. In this society that's so money-oriented, it's kind of confusing because the old dream stream did wrap around people and wrap around organizations or corporations, but it also had a tendency to fold. So when the dream stream folded, nothing then could motion, and people couldn't find their way to knowing what they wanted to do. Therefore, you have extreme poverty in this society, in some cultures, or in some parts of each culture that may create an inner city form of drug use or other things that are not perhaps well with people in general. Shatar dreaming wasn't even in its broadcast, and so there are whole nations that sometimes suffer from huge detriment of dream and then have very little and live in poverty by and large. Sometimes places like the US start to infiltrate dream into their society and witness it on the media, and then motion more dream there so they can begin to recover and find their way out of such extreme poverty. Other countries in Europe or Canada also can participate in that motion, and then it tries to balance the scales between the nations, which are in detriment to one another when one doesn't have enough and another has way too much. Right now, society, with all of its gizmos and gadgets and everything on the market, store shelves is just like loaded with things that you can't even imagine. People are having a lot of way too much, and unfortunately in light that creates a motion to have way too little if you don't balance it in your life. So we want to talk to you about walking the path of balance in light, because if you do that honorably, you will always have enough. If you take too much or try to possess too much, then it's the opposite, because you have too much for a time, and then suddenly you find yourself with way too little. So if you have too much of whatever you're hanging on to, then it's time to liquidate it or let it go. If you have too little, then one way to create more is by letting go of things that you don't use anymore and pass them on to someone who needs it, or pass it on to a trade organization like the Red Cross in Norway or Goodwill in the US, and let it go out of your life. Then that dream stream that's trapped in that object or trapped in something you're not really using can go where it needs to go. That's important, especially if you tend to store up a lot of things in your attic or in your basement. It really doesn't do anything for you at all except trap dream stream, and in this time period of huge motion of light and everything that needs to be done. It's very, very important not to hold on to almost anything that you don't use. So if it sits in the kitchen and you bought something and you're not using it, let it go. If you've had a tendency to collect plates or things that you don't really use or aren't going to find a need for, then let them go. If you've collected other things that you've cherished at another time and you don't use anymore, let them go, because dream stream does get trapped in everything that you possess. If you have just what you need, you will have dream stream to do other things like travel to other places or work on a project you desire that you might not have otherwise. If you're self-employed, you understand a need for balance in what you charge. That is a valid dream stream creation for your own existence. That's important to understand too in your own employment, because sometimes employment doesn't pay enough, and that's very sad when employment doesn't pay what it should. But if you add more dream stream into your workplace, maybe you foster a promotion, or if you shop or hunt for another job, you may improve your economy founded on the level of dream stream you are cascading into that particular occupation. And that's how it works. You have to dream stream it into the occupation. If you can cascade more and more dream stream, then the money that you are desiring will unfold for you very easily. It's not hard to imagine. It's an exchange. You dream stream the light into the organization, and they dream stream the money to you. Now, in a society like Walehora, where they trade, you dream stream the trade. So you add your dreams to somebody that has something that you need to fulfill yourself, and then you trade something that you create for this and that. In this society, you have this issue called money, and you can't think of money as dream stream in life unfolding purposes. It just isn't. It is a bead, so people learned even in Walehora to trade beads. So they gather so many beads, and perhaps they're very valuable in stones of some kind that then the artisans like to make jewelry out of, or something like that. And so if they don't have anything crafted to trade or share, they somehow find their way into the mines and mine out some minerals, and then bring them to the marketplace. Those are considered beads or coins because they didn't do anything with the minerals other than pick them out or chisel them out. And they didn't really foster any love or anything into the creative unfolding that would go into the garment or the scarf or the object or whatever it was, because what life unfolding is measured by is love. So it's measured by love and not necessarily beads. Therefore, in life unfolding, you love what you create and you share it with another that loves what they create. And then you trade what you love and it's beautiful. Then the dreams unfold, the life unfolds, and the dream stream unfolds. Here we're in a society that manufactures things that have no care at all because they're done in some kind of computerized mechanism of manufacturing, and in that there can't be any dream stream. And so in time, these big superstores that are filled with things that people don't really need at this time. Much of it will simply start to fold because there isn't going to be a lot of dream stream to keep it going in this type of system of SOSA. That will bring people to try to do something else like trading or recycling or potentially getting more into this way of we'll all create this and take it to the market and trade it for that. But it's a huge gap of issues that we're going to talk a little bit about for you in particular as starseeds that were meant to be in a trade-oriented culture and you're not. You're in this other culture that doesn't understand trade at all, hardly, although Asarana did find a trade website, and apparently it is costing a little bit more where you could trade your service for something else you need. Maybe you trade services for a car or something, and that's pretty far-fetched idea unless the car is worth not that much. And then perhaps it is actually a viable possibility for something used. But wherever it is, trade is not a common thought here, and that's difficult for the program that's coming in for light, because light doesn't ordain money as a substance or money as a system that should be here for anyone, okay? And so the bead trading concept of minerals is not a system of huge like aggrandizement in this kind of program that Earth is motioning towards. The Tao of Earth wants people to come to balance in how they issue their life and not have this extreme imbalance of greed or this extreme imbalance of credit or mortgages that make a certain class of people highly wealthy. Then there's the gasoline issue, which is very toxic to the environment. They could create something probably in a laboratory far less toxic, and they keep damaging the engineers or the scientists that bring through such information by either killing them off or confiscating their capabilities. It's just a very sad thing to witness such a level of greed that you would actually prevent like technological information from expanding in a new direction that's cleaner for the planet. That's only one of a multitude of issues that have grown due to Shatar systems of dreaming that came to be about 250 years ago, and now are turning another corner and turning off due to other considerations, not just of the Tao but of light motion. He was a program that instigated a law of procreation that caused the human populations to grow way too large for what the planet can handle. So SOSA will downsize the populace, and people may get more increasingly aware of the need not to have children as a life focus and do something else with your time that's perhaps more gracious or creative or interesting or something else. But whatever it is going to be an unfolding change. It may take 30 or 40 years for it to really rearrange itself in a new direction. Those of you caught in the quicksand of change need to know how to model your life stream so that you don't find yourself without a head. And that's the main purpose behind this webinar, is that you will learn to take your light motion and motion it around those people that hold the infrastructure of the organization you're working for together, and then motion it around you to continue to receive a constant stream that would be the equivalent of your paycheck for a time. Now, that won't necessarily stop for a long time to come due to banking systems that will have live stream in them too, that keep the monetary system kind of alive. And SOSA is creating a monetary live stream. They have to because otherwise everything would absolutely collapse, and that wouldn't be good for humanity at large. So there is a banking live stream, and you want to tap into it in relation to your own bank and credit cards or whatever else you rely upon in order to pay your bills or pay your rent or pay your mortgage or however that goes. The other thing they're creating live stream around is real estate. But the interesting thing about it is it's going to have a leveling effect because a house is a house, and if it's worth so much live stream, it's not worth an overinflated value, say, as we know in Los Angeles or the Bay Area or other big places, even Sydney, Australia. I don't know about Brisbane, but I know it gets quite extravagant after a time as houses just seem to go up and up and up and catch more steam in certain regions that are prosperous until they're worth a small fortune. Then you turn around and sell them, and you would gain all this live stream that you free up from the house, but now you have it in the bank. So the dreams kind of go into the bank. For those of you that have got inheritance, it's coming in from families that perhaps manifest these houses at a time that were reasonable, and then they went hyperinflated. You're going to have to figure out what to do for yourself, not to have all your live stream basically sitting around the bank and not in your life anymore. And that's a very hard thing to think about, but it's like you can't go anywhere, do anything. You can draw your money out, but the dream stream to take you almost anywhere may vaporize, and then you find yourself sitting at home not knowing where to go and diddling your thumbs. That sounds very strange, but dream stream has to flow out into the world, even to go to a restaurant, say, or even to go into a position of something that you might want to foster for your own existence. Therefore, one thing you could think about if you have a large liquid asset is buying a small business, okay? Because in a small business, live stream and dream stream, you might employ someone else. You have something to do as long as you're healthy, and it will take the money and put it into an unfolding system that cascades rather than leaving it stagnant in the bank. An affiliate of ours thought about that too, because if her inheritance from her mother comes in, it's like what to do. We suggested that perhaps she would not want to buy a house, but instead buy a small mineral shop or business and then foster her work through that. That's something to think about for each of you, because in the world of light, a stagnant amount of money in a house is an obsolete loss of dream. If you are a homeowner now, you might want to think about that too. What are you going to do? We know that this sounds contradictory to Per and Asarana's situation, because they have two houses, one in Alta, Norway, and one here in Gold Canyon, Arizona. Due to their mission and global service work, this is required for the two of them. Due to Per's wealth in this lifetime, because of his karmic return for thousands of lives of poverty, he could buy both houses with cash and not have any mortgage. Please note that this is our recommendation for you only. You don't need to follow our suggestion. Please always go within and follow your own inner guidance. Now, some places, the house may not be worth that much, so the actual amount of life stream that you're losing is minimal. So if you're in a region that's actually reasonable for what you have paid for the house, or if it's paid off and is worth X amount of dollars you earned over time, leave it alone. And if it's worth a lot more, don't sell it. And then track your money in the bank unless you're going to buy a small business. That's something to think about for yourself, because dream stream will get caught in the house for whatever you think is worth. If you turn around and buy something and plant yourself there, and maybe that's not the wise thing to do. Now, many people think about this issue of retirement. And what am I going to do when I retire? There's been this whole mentality in shadow dreaming that you keep working for the corporation until you have some kind of pension. And then the pension is used to perhaps pay the rent and buy the groceries or whatever it is. Many countries have a social security system. Many don't or aren't working very well, such as Italy and Greece or South America, or many parts of the world don't have that thinking that you pay the government and then they pay you back, and that's trapped money too. Long ago, Asarana pulled out of the system because they didn't want her live stream trapped in the government for paying for Social Security and all these other taxes that people pay for, when the whole tax system is also a dream trap. And if you've paid into it most of your life because you had to, because that's the law. Many of you living in certain countries, you didn't really have a choice because of the way society is constructed. Unless you're an independent contractor or something that can kind of disappear in the system, you're really stuck, and the only thing you can really try to do is forgive it. So we're asking you to forgive where your monetary system has gotten trapped, whether it's in a house or in a government or on a piece of land or in something else that you own. Of course, if you have too many things in the attic or the pantry or in the basement, it's a good thing to go through it all and let it go. Make big runs to places like Goodwill, Red Cross, or Salvation Army and just let it go. Or have a yard sale if you wish to. The other thing to think about is that if you have acquired something and you don't really realize its value, then selling it off can be nurturing to you because you create a little bit of money that then you can put into your dream stream. Perhaps that's better, but there is more dream stream released when you give something away. So when you actually just donate it, and then you can receive more dream stream to put into something else you really like to create. But there's this attitude about retirement that, okay, I'm going to have a house or 2 houses. Here in the Mesa area, these people by and large have 2 houses. They have one somewhere in the Midwest, yes, or some place where it knows you. Then they come here in the winter, and then they go home in the summer to be near their family or whatever they do. They are very kind people, but they got caught in a mentality of retirement that is very difficult to light wave dream stream, because the motion that keeps them going back and forth is going to unfold. That sounds very strange, but in 8 years, and if they haven't passed, and many of them are quite old and may pass the physical, they're going to find it very difficult to motion back and forth between the two regions. Some of them will stay and some of them will go, or they'll sell off one home, because that's the nature of Sosa. Sosa says you don't live in more than one home. If you trade it, and some people went to the other house in the winter while you went to this one in the summer and back and forth, then it would be considered balanced. So there's business of owning many properties and renting them out, or whatever people do, is a huge detriment to live stream and your own ability to unfold your dreams in a way that will cause you to feel fulfilled and loved within. That's the difficult thing about property ownership, as it really does trap dream. Now, if you're paying on a mortgage, then you're also trapping them in the bank, because that money could be probably equal to paying the rent, and then you're free of the responsibility of owning this land or whatever it is you think that you're gotten into. In theory, in light, and this was Atlantean theory, every place that someone resides should be a gift of society for each, and each should have at least what they need in the bare minimum, have enough clothing and food, and then something that they like to do that they can contribute back to society, and maybe for a little bit more of something. In Atlantean culture, they really kept to that minimalist thinking for a long time, and then it flipped in the other direction in their life unfolding assemblage point of thinking. They needed more. Suddenly, there was more housing than people, and suddenly there were more resources than they needed, and suddenly there were these castles built on waterways. These were like boats that were like a high-rise cityscape with some transportation on it. And they were megalithic creations of people that wanted to float on these living cities. They built 5 of them, and each had a different focus. The first one was about spiritual realization. The second one was about entertainment galore. The third one was about systems of partnership. The fourth one was about fostering your existence in a new direction. So they had an education theme. And the last one was about prosperity issues. The odd thing is people did buy into them and go into them, but after a time, they actually polluted the sea. They motored around a particular peninsula and came back. It was about a year journey on one of these things, and you would finally see all these different ports, and you would meet new people, and people would get off and do something else, and others would come on and do something else. It was a beautiful concept in their minds, and it became a megalithic problem for a live, unfolding dream stream. It actually caused a collapse of their society for about 40 years. The boats eventually were made free because they tried to sell the apartments as expensive landings to kind of pay for whatever it took to build these things, and that was their problem. If they had just made it free and had people come and go and build only one, perhaps then it might have worked for them. But they built 5 and they sold them, and they got into this prosperity issue that showed up in their society too. Often that issue shows up for humans because humans think that they need to be prosperous in order to be well. So something was going on in the wellness category of reality, and out of their wellness, they needed to prosper more. And if they prosper more, then they would be better. And that's a lie. That doesn't really work. It's when you're in balance that you're better. When you're in balance, you know who you are and your center point. When you're in balance, you know what you need. When you're in balance, you know where to go next. When you're in balance, you see clearly what's working and what's not working in your life, and you choose to change it. When you're in balance, what is needed flows to you, and what you don't need, you exhale and give away to let it go because you don't need that anymore. And so that's our message to all of you about life unfolding in balance. It's an in-breath of what you need and an out-breath of what you give. Many of you give in a sense to corporations or businesses that in a way that may be not very fulfilling or rewarding, because even though they're giving you a paycheck. So the life unfolding is you get this paycheck, but you don't feel particularly wonderful about your care space. It's not necessarily a caring exchange, and that's another problem with light, because if there's no care, the life stream into that type of organization will fold. If there's care amongst people, it will keep going for a time. So if you find people that you care for, that you work with in this time period, and a corporation that seems to exude some kind of care about their employees, then probably it will continue to flow in SOSA to be a business that dreams. But those that are extremely rigid or extremely usurious of people paying the minimal wages like the factories, and perhaps even putting them in toxic environments to produce something humanity maybe really doesn't need. It's hard to imagine giving all the things you rely upon, such as trains and automobiles, as well as planes and their engines. And then the gasoline industry, the way that it is, it just went baloney. I say baloney because it's all artificial dream stream generated by a program that put it here and there with an oscillation of entertainment, which everybody loves due to the media that has been broadcast. And so the live stream all goes in that direction. The other change that will be very unusual is that the dream stream of the media may be flat out shut off because it's not real. It's not a real dream. It's an artificial dream and it simulates life. So people watch the show and they think they're loved, but they're not really. It's an artificial system that wraps around them and they feel humor, they feel laughter, they feel frightened, or they feel whatever they feel. If they're watching a romance, perhaps they feel they're right in the middle of it, because the reality system of energies are so true to the circumstance. And the truth is that's not real, and for the social light wave program, it's not a real reality. Now in Atlantis, they had some media that was television-like and some computers, but they learned through time that what they had on the media had to simulate something important to society, and if it did, then it caught and it continued, and if it didn't, it folded, usually relatively quickly. So if the media was something, it wasn't just entertainment. But if people really associated with the airstream of what they were talking about, then they would continue with it. And if it had no interest, they would just drop away and the show would lose its stream, and then the people would go on to do something else in life. Therefore, the media in Atlantis was always changing with new focuses that were important to society. The media stars were always changing, usually within about 4 years, so nobody was a megastar for life like you experienced in Chateau Dreaming, as light would never cascade somebody in fame forever. You are who you are the life of you. You are the one that is here to do whatever you're here to do. You're not going to be known forever for what you say 5 years ago, but somebody else is talking about something else that's more interesting today than yesterday. Therefore, it's a very different dream stream, and it's going to affect all walks of life in all aspects of society in many ways. It will reformat to be more localized and trade-oriented rather than this megalithic journey of shipping products and goods all over the world, from cheap places to places that have money by and large, and now maybe more to other places than they ever used to reach, just due to overstock that nobody's buying. As Serena walked into Bed Bath and Beyond to get something she needed, and it's like overstock for Christmas. She can't even believe how much junk is there, and she's walking around going, I can't even imagine all of this selling. Then she gets up to the counter and the salesperson say, oh no, they'll all be gone by New Year when we have our big sale and they all liquidate. As Serena was thinking how many times can you buy a new trash can or a new this or a new that in that kind of store? New linens perhaps need to be replaced every few years, but what is it about it that just keeps it going and going and going, and people purchase and purchase and purchase, and fill their cupboards up and fill their kitchen pantry up? Then you have this issue about the Mormon concept of you have to stock for yourself in case there's some kind of giant World War 5 years of inventory of food, and they put it in their basement and they have no dream stream. An affiliate of ours had been a Mormon person. She had a pantry that had 5 years' worth of food and grain in the basement of their house, and she was very sick and swollen with lymphoma. As Serena said to her through the resources that she channeled to get rid of your pantry and your lymphoma will clear up. So she gave it all away, and lo and behold, it did. But the following summer, fire started at the edge of her property, and it showed up all the way at the edge of her doorstep. She heard clearly from fire, do you want us to burn down the house to free you up for your life, or do you want to do something else? She said, no, I'll do something else, and the fire extinguished itself at the door. She sold it that year to offload it so she could recover her health and recover her life and do something else. This illustrates a really major story of transformation in the lives of all of us, because when you have too much, it can detriment your health too. So if you have a health condition coming on, having less allows the life force of the body in its life unfolding to move. When you own too much, it's like the life force of the body freezes because the dream stream in that case was in her pantry and 5 years worth of food, instead of running through her body, allowing it to revive itself and recover from its health condition. There are always many stories like that we could share from now and in the past, but that one was the most illustrative of the truth of owning or hanging on to too much and trying to hold on to something like food for a future that's in strife that may never come to be in the plight of the planet either. That was nature's message to her. They didn't think it was going to be that kind of war, so it was a useless waste to stock all that food and give it to the homeless shelters, and that's what she did. And so it freed up a lot of things in her life too. So we'll just share with you one more thing. The love of you is what renews and revives you. And when it's time to cascade to closure, the live stream shortens itself so you can let go of the body. And that's a Tao action where she diffuses the spine gently one night and you're through. You don't have to be terribly sick, but if you're holding into sickness, you can let go. You don't need a hospital or a hospice or a house that you own to be comfortable to let go of your life. You just need to be at one with your Tao in the live stream of the closure of your existence. And so it can be, and it might come to be in a time you're not exactly expecting it, and suddenly you're through. And that's the way it works for places like Walihara. They have kind of a hospice shelter where people can go and receive medicinals to see if they can heal. And if they can't, they start to fast, and generally they're through in 30 to 45 days. That's a real hospice because it's there to allow somebody passage of right out of the physical, because life descends through a live stream and a life unfolding into the womb of your mother that caused you to exist, and in parallel it flows out, leaving the body behind because it can't be taken to gas or steam or something else that might occur on dimension 12 or higher if there were human life. There's very little human life on dimension 12 or higher, to be honest. And so those original ideas of ascending the body to gas or send it to another dimension where you become something else are folding now. As Sarana was aware of a transfusion class of human that built an ethereal structure that traveled the skies and used to adventure to earth to renew and revive. They have long closed their gates now, but she witnessed their dream, and it was actually from maybe 2,000 years ago. But the dream looked active, but it wasn't really in the now. But there used to be a form of ethereal structure that would be created as the person passed that could carry on in another jurisdiction. Most of the galaxies that had that type of DNA had long gone extinct in the past 4,000 years. And then the class of human gasified that was of that stature and went on to the cosmic winds to learn something else and learn something new, taking the live stream of whatever was learned to something else that may develop somewhere else through time. And that's our point. Ultimately, everything goes to gas. Even the earth will one day fold or shudder or shadow and disappear in the cosmic winds of time. There may be little rubble remaining similar to the Milky Way galaxy. That may be the remains of another kind of system like this. Whatever is conscious or aware, whether they be angels or other resources, Tao or Tao fabric, often aerates and goes to gas, and as it goes to gas, it evolves to another level of understanding about how existence was, and how it should be, and how it will be, and what needs to be corrected, even in the gases that form life that are impure or lack understanding or lack awareness. Because even though your body looks solid, it's really just a living gas bag contained by your skin. They say it's water, but water really is a gas too that happens to be liquid. So it's really all gas anyway, even though you think of it as something else. When Asarana says, go to the sky of yourself and be well and be in the clouds, perhaps you think of it as your body floating there somewhere and wish you could physically, I'm sure. Unfortunately, that's not true with this level of gravity on this planet. Some places have less gravity and allowed for levitation, but most in this society, in this dimension, don't. But whatever it is, ultimately, everything goes to gas in the gas stream of the cosmos, where it flows to where it's needed and then recoagulate into something new. All your wisdom and all the wisdom of everything on a place like Earth or anywhere else finally reconstitute somewhere else. Not necessarily together at all, but in different directions that caused life to form again in another way that is dreamt by a Tao or Tao that wanted to experience this kind of dream stream. So your dream stream is dreamt by Tao and Tao, and they thought of this compilation of genetics that are called humanity. Humanity, or an interesting dance that dreams about partnership and dreams about family and dreams about sharing your creative interests and dreams of music and dreams of trains and planes and automobiles on this planet and dreams about beautiful things you can do that make you feel well and tries to dream for something beautiful through time. Here there's a lot of non-beautiful dream streams. So we want to talk a little bit about that. As we do this, we'll go off to a few other pictures here that we have saved for you. This one, which is also from Crater Lake near Bend, Oregon. There were many messages that day that astronauts took pictures at Crater Lake, and it was a stunning day of light motions and clouds that reflected in the lake and things she could hardly believe. It was so breathtaking to her. The message for her in this photo was that the life unfolding of you is forever and is in the winds of time. You're trying to transfuse heavily to the yogi planes and into something else because that's what your Tao wants you to do this lifeline. Sometimes you oscillate in the physical and in your emotions because in the transfusion it's difficult to understand the emotions of the planet. Recently we sent you a little message that when you transfuse, sometimes you feel the emotions of the planet, and here were the emotions of deep care. And so Esther Runner came here and stood there and felt the deep care of the waterway and the sky and the clouds and all the beauty and grace that was here for her in a national park scenario. Often, the national parks still have a repose of deep grace, love, and care that show up for each that chooses to adventure into them. We advise you to do that as often as you can because it's grand to stand in the light and the love of the planet as it was when it was pure. That's what the national parks are in most countries. They appear because they don't go in and build on top of every corner like they do in many other places. Asarana can reflect on Lake Tahoe that looks dead to her as she and Per went through it in their transit to Bryce this last summer. It's dead, and she pondered that and said, "This was an area I used to really love and thought was beautiful." As she drove near the lake, she realized that the people that had built way too many houses and castles in their grand jurisdiction of ski land or summer land had actually caused most of the vegetation to dry. The forests turned to pine needles, and being cut down is very sad for her. Here, on the other hand, in the national park, there are some trees dying, but will still thrive, and there's still beauty and grace left that is a reflection of the dream stream of the planet, or the life unfolding of the planet. When you're going to the life unfolding of the planet, you start to pull a dream stream of the planet into your own focuses. So as you adventure to the national park, hopefully more than once a year, because ideally you should be here maybe once a week if you're close enough. And many may not be close enough to a national park to accomplish that. As Sarana and Pear found one south of them near Tucson, and that's one they'll go to frequently to refresh themselves in dream stream for life unfolding that comes from the natural world in a reservoir of national parks that haven't been touched or damaged by human infrastructure. So that's our message. If you need more dream stream wherever you're going or wherever you're unfolding, then get to a national park. Inhale the dream stream you need and blow it out into each organization or person or whatever it is that you're needing to dream alongside it, and then see where it takes you next. That's the gift of this particular photo, as you need to live near a national park. Now, when Sarana and Pear moved here to Mesa, they didn't know they were so near to one. It's just south of Tucson, and that Tucson was just an hour and a half drive, and that's a beautiful day for them and an escape into a land of megalithic dream stream of the high desert. This was a megalithic dream stream of the lake and mountain scenery of Crater Lake. Now we have another photo. So we have another photo here. This was another megalithic scene of dream stream in the Blue Mountains of Australia. The Kenyans say to Sarana, "It's like this is the dream of heaven for you to think about, because heaven is here in the canyons of herself and the canyons of the planet, and be in heaven in spite of your life changes." It's also a message about dream stream, that even though life changes and people that you loved vacate your existence, and people that you think you're near and dear to forever suddenly depart, because they have another journey on the path of their life, and perhaps they're not well physically and they're dying. Wherever it is, there's always new dream stream to carry new people into your heart and into your life. And so as you inhale this gift from this particular scene, is for letting go of the people that don't dream stream well for you, or maybe create a collision of actions that don't work well with your body, mind, or spirit, or heart space at all. Let them go and let new people float to you or flock to you that love you and care for you and bring you beautiful dreams of wonder and excitement in your new association with someone very beautiful like you. So that was the message, and that's our message for you today, that people can also create a detriment of live stream and then making it hard for you to dream the dreams of your own business or what it is you're trying to accomplish. That's very sick, but that does happen, and it happens frequently in places where you cling to people that perhaps you should let go of. Sometimes that can occur in an office scenery. In an office scenario, we work for the same company way too long, and you don't really stream well together. In the changes of salsa, that job may go away somehow just because you can't light wave motion together anymore, or it causes a major change of circumference of bosses and work people, that suddenly there's a new staff doing something else in the infrastructure of the corporation because they need to stream together, or it just doesn't work out at all. Same is true for friends or even family. Sometimes family may stream with you beautifully, sometimes not at all. Therefore, you may not choose to be with them in light wave motion because it hurts too much. So you let them go to dream with whoever they appreciate and who understands their lifestyle, and you create a soul family of sorts of people who care. And in that, you sing and you sway and you do beautiful things. Then life unfolds better and flowers for you, allowing you to sing and inhale and exhale your life, doing beautiful things with companies that appreciate you or people who appreciate you and not something less. Same is also true sometimes in partnership with twins. They can't let go until you let go of them, even when they need to die. And so be aware of that in twin partnership, that there's a time to come and go. Sometimes it can happen at that time period of the end of life circumstance, and that can be even difficult to think about. If you're in a loving union with your twin, don't think about that now. However, let go of your twin when it's time for him or her to depart the physical plane and reunite with the Great Spirit. And when it's time, it shall unfold smoothly. So that's our blessing from this next photo here. This was taken from a scene in Hawaii during Per and Asarana's 3-month visit to the Hawaiian Islands in 2023. They were standing on the shore of the Lahaina town. It was such a beautiful day, and the ocean said to Asarana, "Be like the waves. Allow yourself to roll into the shore and have what you need, and let what needs to roll out to sea go." In the inflow of the wave that rolls in, you inhale what it is you need, and this was also a region of huge, I want to say it's an international perch or dream stream, and this was on Maui. And Maui is a beautiful, gracious island with many things to see and do and many entertainments of royal fanfare of the Hawaiian people too. Asarana and Pear loved Hawaii and wanted to move there, and the island say no, you have another place to go, but we love you always. But in the dream stream of Hawaii Nei, we always keep you in ourselves so you can foster your dream time. International organization for starseeds that need to gather and find you, and that was their blessing. And you're here listening to this webinar because of this blessing from the sea of Maui Nei. We call it Maui Nei because it's the land of beauty and grace of all, and so we'll share 3 things about International Dream Stream. There aren't that many portals of it on Earth, and if you're not working for an international company, then perhaps it's less of an issue for you. If you are, then if this portal closes down, the International Dream Stream will collapse and international organizations will fall apart into national ones. And then maybe later on regional ones. We don't anticipate that to occur because it's still about 30 years away. So the life as you know it will carry on some, and for you as a seed, the real issue is streaming enough to take care of you for whatever you need in this lifespan of yours, and not limit yourself to what you think you don't need. What do you need? It's time to take inventory in a meditative stance of yourself. Do you need a beautiful partner to show up that loves you? Do you need new friends that you can dream stream with, that cascade and you enjoy and encourage you to live your life better rather than degrade you in some manner that hurts? Do you need new people to spend time with in a work sense that make you feel fulfilled and you care for one another and sway with one another, rather than people who criticize or disorient one another to a point that nothing gets done over the course of the day? What is it that is working for you? What is it that isn't? What is working in relation to your home? Are you leasing or do you own? What is it you need to do to free yourself to be where you need to be in this life of yours? Are you living in the right region? If not, what do you need to look at within and with your Tao and Tao to carry you to where it's really important for you to be? If you're in need of partnership, what kind of partnership do you really want to dream stream for in the life unfolding of you? Make them gracious and beautiful and love you in a heart's way of the two, and that's what you should call to you. If you're seeking new friends, you don't want those that are going to degrade. You need those that are going to care for you unconditionally and be there for you if you need somebody there, and not be there when you don't need them there. Loving each other into yourselves rather than blending with one another. If you're seeking soul family, then how many of those can you really create before you create a problem, as Asrona and Per understood in their own experience of their Dreamtime Ascension School, or DAS? And so whatever it is, you need to have just the right number of soul family members, and perhaps it will be 2, perhaps it will be 3, maybe that's all the dream stream of seeds can hold with one another. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be. The soul family is limited to about 5 in this time period, but some can't really foster a full plumeria blossom flowering of 5. If one of the 5 starts damaging the flower, so you have to limit it to people who don't damage your dream stream if you want soul family not to be dismembered. Same is true for the company's circumstance. If someone in the company is detrimenting your dream stream, it's going to go away and you're going to quit because you don't know what else to do. Now you can keep feeling it in for a time until you find another job where people don't function that way, and oddly enough, there are organizations that are turning ultra light, and we spoke to that in our last webinar. In the ultra light organization, everybody dream streams together and nobody detriments dream stream. In the light organization, just beneath ultralight, sometimes there might be somebody that detriments the dream stream, but mostly not. When you get into medium thresholds, there's 1 or 2, and that may cause the organization to either change gears or change direction, or maybe fold, maybe expand, but it's hard to say in this cycle. Then you get into the darker organizations, and there you're going to have a lot of people that like to detriment dream stream and hurt one another. And then the organization is almost assured to fold. You see, it kind of is a gathering of dream. Now Sosa says, in the truth of a place like Walehara, there are very few things that aren't really massively light infused. because everybody's light infused. Is every aspect of society and doesn't let anything detriment if there's interest in it in the first place. But if there is an interest in it and they don't care for that project, then it usually dies. That's hard to even imagine because so many people work for organizations that they don't like that they're doing, or they don't appreciate one another working there because people don't get along, or all these other things that happen in an infrastructure of society kind of put together in sound and trying to emerge out of that and into light. Therefore, our advice to you is to find only those organizations that are light or ultralight and go to work for them. There, you're going to find people who swing and sway and smile together and believe in what they're doing and believe what they're saying or thinking about their product line. Per and Asarana had one experience in the purchase of a Macintosh going to the Macintosh store in that time period in Spokane, Washington. It was an amazing light-infused store, and these young people sing and sway together with the Tao of the region. They were very aware and present in their training schematic, and they were very gifted at what they were doing, and obviously had a big repair business going in the back too. Asarana looked at that and said, "Oh, this is an ultralight business, and look, it's all around the Macintosh, and isn't that amazing?" Then Per found out later that Macintosh only represents 8% of all computer sales worldwide, but is absolutely light infused, even down to their console, which never gathers any energy they can't stand. That wasn't true with her experience of the IBM personal computer that Asarana had for perhaps 20 years. So she was into the IBM line, then HP and Dell later on. We're doing these pre-recorded webinars on a Dell laptop because Asarana hasn't had the time to learn to use the Macintosh yet. So we'll speak to you about light infusion in certain systems of life. I mean, if you're in the computer tech business, perhaps you want to get to know Apple and Macintosh a little bit more because maybe that's better for your light wave mind, body, soul, spirit connection. The people there may be very beautiful to work with and very caring and very understanding. Perhaps that's better for you. There are other businesses that are tech that may be very light-oriented, and it's hard to describe who they are now, but they will infiltrate more in that direction in the coming years, and will know better as you get involved with them what's really going on. But almost any business of any length of existence is going to end up in one pole or another. And what was ultra light may turn ultra dark. That's very strange, but Asarana and Pear had witnessed that happening. So an ultralight business streams immaculate conception of itself, and that's a very strange word, but that's the way the divine ordering of it works. So they're always conceiving something that keeps it going, keeps it afloat, keeps it mesmerizing, keeps it beautiful, and keeps it in an ordering of something that works. That's an ultralight business. A light business isn't founded on immaculate conception, but a prose of itself continuously in a dream stream of that which works. So it's slightly different, and either one is good to work for in this time period of changing light motion. So you'll be looking for life unfolding with an ultra light or light business, and then it will do well or expand or continue to provide it for you. People may flow better with you and appreciate you as somebody who's transfusing. You may find many more transfusing individuals in such a company because that's just the nature of why they have light in the first place. To have an ultralight business or light business in this time period. Now, medium business has a motion that basically is founded upon I fly, so it's an I fly organization, and they fly in this direction, and they fly in that direction, and they wrap around and they keep themselves sustainable. Therefore, they're more sustainably oriented in a medium light dream. Sustainable organizations can be very beautiful to work for as long as they sway. So if the medium light organization sways, then it's probably okay. If it doesn't, then it's probably going to downsize or break apart. Sway is a problem on the planet for many regions. So if it's a regional problem, that's sad, but the medium organization may fold. Dark organizations are assured to fold, and there's nothing you can say about it. It's dark and nobody will like it. They won't like the people and they'll walk away. That's just what happens when anything goes dark. It feels creepy, and then there's no dream stream anyways, so that folds. If people were more aware and they infused everything with light, it could change a medium organization to light organization of bright light. That would take some focus. But if you're to buy a company and you choose to light infuse it, you can make it bright light and have it very successful and be at peace about your economy. Maybe that's something to think about. If you have assets you can use to buy a business of some sort that brings you joy or feels resonant or complementary into your heart. We'll talk more of that over time, but that's where a life unfolding can be the most fun. If you're trying to learn to dream stream for your own company or your own business, you may have to fill it with light until it grows ultra light. So you keep filling the business with more and more and more and more light, and then in the ultra light, it spawns the jurisdiction of the life unfolding of gestation. And in the gestation, then it births itself anew, and it gathers those to you that are right for the business. And that's the ultralight business. That's the best place to go if you're trying to conceive of a business of your own. It's very, very important to make sure that the business is located in a region that has a lot of light, or you may not be able to fill it into an ultra bright position at all. A light position may be growing toward sustainability, but if you're trying to devise something new that isn't already organized with incoming business, that may be very difficult, may not have succeeded at all in this time period, where it may have under sector jurisdiction 10 years ago. That's sad when you try something and it fails and you lose money on it. And so we don't advise that. It's probably better to buy an existing business than it is to try to start something from scratch in this time period of changing dream stream, because the existing business has a habituated inventory and a habituated number of people that come and flow towards it. It already has its books of a certain level of profit, and that's easier to dream stream into perhaps some bigger success. But keep in mind balance, because anything that grows too big is also going to shrink equally in the times ahead if it's shared business ordering. So if Apple Computer has all these stores and they're individually owned and not prospering for Apple itself, and I'm really not sure how they're designed, but if they are, then that will do well. If they're trying to hold on to all of it, then it may not do well and crash, because in light everything is to be shared. Having it all under one jurisdiction never worked, even in Atlantis. Even for the government, it broke the government down into at one point 8 block regions, because having the government jurisdict over any more than 8 blocks didn't work. That probably sounds really odd to you with these national and international forces and focuses that came up or birthed themselves in sound. But in that time period, it was an ultra bright light. And so they had a manager of each region in one of the complexes that kind of took care of who was in and out of the business when they needed new people to be there for whatever they foster and keep the restaurants going. Therefore, the jurisdictions spread out all over the place. There were so many to convene that if they had a national conference, it could fill up too big of a building that they didn't ever build. So they didn't even do that. They held gatherings regional. The clusters have maybe 18, and that was all. It was a time of a real turning point in Atlantis too, and the population wasn't anywhere near as big as what you have here. I think it was about 40,000 people. So you have all these people and all these things to try to dream stream. And the truth is, that's not your problem. This was the other message of the ocean that day that Asarana fostered, that the world is not your problem. The world is the world's problem. Your problem is your dream and your dream stream, and what you're going to do next that enlivens your life and brightens it or brings people to you that you love and care and learn about. And that's readily true for all of you. Don't worry about the planet at large, but recognize how it influences you to need to be in a company that's ultra bright, light, or light at best, or sustainably middle arranged, and preferably light. And that you want partners who can transfuse, or you want people who can transfuse around you and sway with you in deep care to become or grow to be your soul family or your friends. And through time, you want a place that you can live, that you feel good about, with not too much and not too little, but just enough of everything you need that you use recurrently and repeatedly, and you offload the things that don't work for you anymore of whatever you don't use in any given year. That's what life unfolding faster is, to keep enough dream stream flowing, to keep yourself not just alive and well and healthy too, but also in a preoccupation that works for you. We're going to go on to another picture here. This is another beautiful pool in Yellowstone National Park, and it had the yellow gases forming a sort of sulfur crystal. It was very beautiful next to the white, next to the blue, and the message is to be where you need to be in any jurisdiction through times that you need to be. Be who you are, be what you are, and be in the beauty and grace of everything. Be in the freedom to be who you are, and don't be somewhere else ever, because in the lifeline of everything, there is only one thing to remember, that you are the love of the love within, and in the love of the love within, everything flowers, everything unfolds, and everything finds its way to where it needs to go. One day, you phosphorize in heavy light and know where you're heading better in this life of yours. Be blessed, be pure, and be true to you. And that was the message of this motion of energies of the National Park of Yellowstone in this time period of Asarana's life. The lifeline even looks like the little line of white that goes along the edge of the yellow and between the blue on the upper end. Lifeline is something that carries you forward and in life unfolding, and as you go into that assemblage point of force, there's the life unfolding assemblage point for daily living, which directs your dream stream around those that you are to congregate with in any given day or week. Then there's the life unfolding of force aspect, and that's what we're talking about in this picture here. The life unfolding of force is a beautiful array of truth of you in the manifestation of your life in the dream stream of you. And in the life unfolding of force, you redirect the dream to go where you need it to go for next chapter of your life. There are many chapters in the book of life that you live. Sometimes there's an end of book timeline, and this little crevice around the base of this lifeline system is like the representation of the end of a book and the beginning of a new book. You have many chapters with the things that you do with certain people that have been a part of your life. But if it's a major relationship, the relationship itself is a book of its own, so be aware of that. Your marriages are partnerships that are long-term with twins and those that you love, that is a book that is a book all of its own. It has many chapters of who you develop within and together, and all the things that you swing and you sway and you say and you speak and you come to understand. Then there's a time sometimes that the book closes because the chapters are over, and when it's through, and there may not be another chapter to open the dream ahead. Sometimes there is, but not always. Then the life spawns a whole new direction, and that's when the life unfolding of assemblage point motions into its force. And in its force, it redirects the life to where it needs to be and what it needs to do in order to be well with what the next chapters are going to bring in your life. Some are in partnership many times and swing and sway together and then apart and into some other union. Some are together for a very long time, and some are together with no one forever. Each Tao designs the lifeline to learn what you need you to realize yourself, and it's not about the past, it's about what you realize about you. So in the life force of change of life unfolding, there are many things that are actions. Could be a regional change such as moving to another country or state. For Pear and Asarana, they relocated to Gold Canyon and stayed there for 6 months out of the year. The other 6 months they lived in Alta, Norway. There could be a change of jurisdiction, of ordering of your work. For Asarana, there was the momentum to bring the seas together that she had known through time so that they could learn what they needed to as stoics of themselves and grow to be the beautiful people she would have always wanted them to be through whatever she was to share with Tao and Tao. That's what this lifeline represents, is that journey to its conclusion whenever it shall conclude at the end of lifeline of Asarana and Pair. Everybody has an end of lifeline, and when it concludes, it's through, and the Tao of you will take you home, and you don't know necessarily when that will be. Don't worry about it, but it's always there because no life can last forever on a planet like Earth, and in light motions that aren't always succinct enough to renew or revive the body into health. That was a message from these pools too, that the body may be revived for so many years, might be 5, it might be 8, but after that it may not be able to go any further without sickness. You don't have to stay for that. You can choose to end your lifeline at will with your Tao and say, no, I'm through and I need to go home. And so that is for each of you. Now the lifeline and the life unfolding standards of Assemblage point realign with one another. So if you feel like your life is going off track, you go into the life unfolding assemblage point and realign with your lifeline and see where am I within this journey in my destination. Next. Where am I and where do I need to be and what do we need to realign or where do I need to go next to foster this life of mine as my Tao ordained in this lifeline. That's very, very beautiful to resyncopate with your lifeline because it does 3 things. 1, it gives you a blast of life force to renew and revive. 2, it gives you a beautiful vision about what you're supposed to do next. And 3, it gives you a beautiful truth of who you are in this lifeline of yours. So you realign to your truth, you realign to the vision of where you're headed, and you realign to your purpose as you motion your assemblage point into life unfolding. This is good to do at least once a week, and if you're facing major life change, then the assemblage point of life unfolding force steps in and you're in it for perhaps 2 years before the changes begin to manifest in the life ahead. And that's a lifeline redirection and cause and effect of you and your Tao heading you in another direction, because the chapters of another book of your life are complete, and that's the best way we can describe. You are a book of life all of your own, and we will talk more about that in another assemblage point motion. But today we're going to put you in the assemblage point of life unfolding so you can receive a life boost and some stamina for your body and for renewal and revival. We're going to put you in a direction that you can feel your truth and receive a short vision of where you're headed next. And so we invite you to sit with this for the next few hours and continue to receive the healing until we are complete. We just love you and we bless you. We'll go back to our prose here. To say one more thing, that is all unfolding dream, and you are a waking dream. You are nothing more than any dream that's been moldering in one direction that is unfulfilling or uninspiring or not well with you. Can change, and it doesn't have to remain in the non-purposeful mission of nothing, as you might say. It can always motion into a place of grace or beauty or love that carries you forward in the direction that you most hope for in this life stream of yours. So don't sit too long in the negative of a sick spell that you've fallen under, perhaps due to others, perhaps due to a company, perhaps due to a sick friendship or a partnership or some of the problem that you're having. Let it all go and rebirth yourself into something new as you motion into the assemblage point of life unfolding. So we'll read our prose to you. The life of you is an unfolding dream that cascades as life stream in the care of the Tao and the love of the Tao, in the lives of those you care for, in a spell of the earth, to foster you through time. Never believe you have to stay in the negative forever, for there is always something more beautiful and more gracious to do ahead. We bless you, and we love you, and we thank you, and we say Namaste.